All right. Is this everybody? All right.
Carson?
Thank you for giving me a little bit of time today to talk about your freshman year of high school. You guys ready to be high schoolers?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So, if you don't know who I am, my name is Mr. Horner. I'm the high school counselor. I also coach speech and play production, so I'm kind of busy over here at the high school. One of my jobs is to talk to you about your freshman year. And I have to get things scheduled for next year. We're 1 month away, 1 month and a few days away from the end of the school year. And so one of my jobs here in the last month of the school year is to make sure we're ready for the fall. And so you guys are going to make the trip from the middle school to the high school, and you get a little bit more freedom, I guess, to choose what you're going to take as high schoolers than you did as middle schoolers. So we're going to talk through that today. I'm going to talk to you about what an elective is. I'm going to talk to you about what required courses are, let you know what your schedule will look like, things that we're going to make you take, and then the things that you'll get to choose from for you to take as what we call elective courses, okay? So in the high school, we run an 8-period day. All of our students have 8 classes, okay? As a freshman, 5 of those 8 classes are required courses that we make you take, and then you get to pick 3 electives. So we're going to talk about both of those. So across your years of high school, every year, there will be some courses that are required that everybody takes. In the freshman year, there are 5. In the sophomore year, there are 5 more. In the junior year, there are 4. And in the senior year, there are 2. So the longer you get into high school, the more choices you'll get to have with what elective classes that you take, okay? But as a freshman, I'm going to put you in 5 classes required, and then you're going to get to pick 3. So let's talk about the 5 classes that everybody has to take. First one is English, everybody's favorite. That's right. I used to be an English teacher, so English has got to be your favorite. So you will take English all 4 years of high school. You have to have 4 years of high school English to graduate. You have to have 4 years of English to get to colleges. Everybody's going to take 4 years of English. Now, in the freshman year, there are 3 different places you might go for English. We have what we call English 9. We have a class we call General English 9. And we have a class we call Practical English. Let me kind of explain the difference between those. English 9 is the most challenging of the 3, okay? If you have demonstrated good proficiency in reading, writing, spelling, grammar, punctuation, then you may have been recommended to take what we call English 9. If that's been maybe a little bit of a struggle for you, you might have been recommended for General English 9. So most of our kids take either English or General English. It's 60%, 40%, sometimes it's 70-30, sometimes it's closer to 50-50. Just depends on what you need, okay? And so Mrs. Mosby actually filled out a spreadsheet and gave it to me. Have you shared that information with them yet?
No, I haven't.
Okay, that's totally fine. You're going to get that information on your sheets today. But you're going to find out if you were recommended for English 9, for General English 9, or possibly for a class we call Practical English. Now, not very many of you would be in Practical English. Practical English would be a class that if you have an IEP, and if English has been a struggle for you, you might be taking the Practical English. We literally only have a few kids across the entire high school that take Practical English. So that could be you. You'll see that on your green sheet you're going to get today if you've been recommended for that. Okay, so everyone is going to be in an English class. It's either English 9, General English 9, or Practical English. Okay, so English 9 and General English 9 are both college preparatory English classes. Somebody could take General English 9, 10, 11, and 12, and then go on to the University of Nebraska-Lincoln and get a degree from there, or any other college you pick, okay? So that's the English. Second class that all of you are going to take, World Geography. Mrs. Wagner teaches, I should tell you who teaches that English. If you take English 9, Mr. Gracie will be the teacher. He's the head wrestling coach. And if you take General English 9, it's Mr. Martin, okay? One of our basketball coaches, and I don't know, he coaches football. So anyway, so those would be your 2 choices. And if you take Practical English, that would be Miss Mosel in the special ed department, okay? If you take World Geography, well, you're all going to take World Geography. You are all going to take Mrs. Wagner. She's also one of the basketball coaches. And everybody will have Mrs. Wagner for World Geography. Everybody takes the same World G class, okay? So that's 2. Number 3, all of you will take Earth Science. It's your first year of science. Okay? You all have to take 3 years of science in high school. Earth Science as a freshman. Everybody's going to take it. You will all have 1 semester of science with Mrs. Solberg, and you'll have 1 semester of science with Mr. Eggenberger. Some will have it the fall, flip it, we flip you back and forth, okay? So it's a combination of those 2 teachers, okay? So we're up to 3. Number 4, PE health. You have to have 1 year of PE to graduate from high school. So you as freshmen will all be put in Mr. Hatch's PE classes. Okay, so that's the 4th one. I've saved Mr. Wood's favorite for last. Your 5th required course is math. Now, I don't know if you guys know this, but there are a variety of levels of talent in math, right? Some of us are math whizzes, some of it's a little harder for us, and a lot of in between. So math ability levels vary a lot, and that's just normal. It's not a big deal, it's just the way it is, okay? So we actually have more places where a high school student can start with their high school math career. So let me just kind of roll through those, okay? The most challenging, well, it's new this year. I guess I'm rethinking my speech as I go here. You guys had the opportunity to do Algebra 1, some of you, in the 8th grade, okay? And so there was that possibility that some of you could be recommended for geometry as a freshman. Because if you have Algebra 1 done as an 8th grader, you take geometry as a freshman, you would then move on with the college preparatory math classes after geometry in high school. The next step from that, the typical, what's been our normal for high school, the highest level, has been Algebra 1. Okay, so some of you will be recommended to take Algebra 1 your freshman year of high school. If middle school math has been a little bit challenging for you, you might be recommended to take Algebra 1A. If you've kind of struggled a little bit more than that, your first class might be pre-algebra, and if math just isn't your best friend, you might be starting in a class called general math. So we have a lot of different places where we start high school math. The reason for that is because we want to meet you where you are so that you can be successful. Okay? It's not about punishing you. It's just about, here's where your math level is. We want you to start where you're at and then grow from there. All right? Now, the math piece gets a little bit tricky because there are certain math courses that count for college purposes. Others don't. So I kind of want to make sure you guys are a little bit understanding of the bigger picture. If you want to go to a 4-year college, you need to get as many college preparatory math classes as possible. So if you start with Algebra 1 as a freshman, you would do geometry as a sophomore, Algebra 2 as a junior, and then you'd have the choice of either taking college prep math as a senior or pre-calculus as a senior. That would be 4 years of college preparatory math. That's what the University of Nebraska-Lincoln requires for guaranteed admission after high school. 4 years of college preparatory math, okay? And then the other colleges in the state require 3. So you'd actually be 1 more than you have to have. They want you to have 4, but they will take you with 3, okay? So if you start in Algebra 1, you would get 4 years. Now, if you were recommended for geometry, you're actually 1 more year ahead of that. You would take geometry as a freshman, Algebra 2 as a sophomore, and then pre-calc or college prep math as a junior, and you would actually have what you need, and then you may end up taking a year of college math as a senior. We'll see when we get there, okay? This is all new to us. We'll see how this all works, okay? Now, the step down from Algebra 1, if maybe, you're a good math student, but you've struggled just a little bit, or it takes just a little bit of extra work to make it happen, you might be starting in a class called Algebra 1A. Algebra 1A is actually the first semester of Algebra 1 spread out across a year. So you get to take it a little more slowly. You're still going to get the same exact concepts, but it's going to be at a little bit slower pace so that you can process through that so we can build a really good, firm math foundation. If you take Algebra 1A as a freshman, anybody want to guess what sophomore year is? Algebra 1B. They go together, and Algebra 1B is the second semester of algebra spread across 1 more year. Now, at the end of your sophomore year, you would have 2 years of high school math for graduation purposes. You need 3 total. Algebra 1A and 1B would count as 2 years of high school math, but a college would look at it as 1 year of college preparatory math because it's actually the content of 1 year of math spread out across 2 years. Okay? So if you took 1A as a freshman, take 1B as a sophomore, geometry as a junior, algebra 2 as a senior, you'd get 4 years of high school math, but it would look like 3 years for like UNK, UNL, UNO. Okay? They would count it as 3 years of college preparatory math. The only place that gets a little bit tricky is if you're planning to go to UNL, they might not let you in as a freshman. You might have to go to a community college first, clean up your math, and then go back to them. But the other schools would not be a problem. 3 years is what's required. Okay? Now, some of you might start in what we call pre-algebra as a freshman. If you do pre-algebra in the freshman year, you would do algebra 1A as a sophomore, 1B as a junior, and then possibly geometry, maybe a class called consumer math as a senior. These are classes for kids that maybe math's just not their best friend. And they just got to get their math, and they're not necessarily planning to go to a 4-year school. They might go to a community college to get a degree. That'll totally work for that. But you get math at a little bit slower pace. Okay? So, Mr. Wood has recommended the math class for your freshman year of high school. You're going to see that on the green sheet here too. Okay? If you're not sure why Mrs. Malsby or Mr. Wood has recommended what they've recommended, they are happy to have a one-on-one conversation with you. And so I would recommend that you say to them, Mrs. Malsby, when could I come in and talk with you privately about this? Don't try to talk to her about in front of the entire class. Make an appointment to talk to her privately about it, or Mr. Wood also, okay? If you disagree with what they've had to say, then, you and your parents talk about it. You can come talk to me so I can explain to your parents the math sequencing, and we can assess to make sure we're in the right spot, okay? It says it right on the form. If you would like to discuss either of the above recommendations, please call or email the high school counseling office to set up a meeting with me, and I will sit down with them to make sure your parents understand what that all looks like, okay? So it's a little bit tricky, but we really want to make sure you are in the class that you are ready to do well in, okay? Now, one little thing on the form that you'll see, every once in a while, Mr. Wood or Mrs. Malsby will put a little star beside their recommendation. And what that little star means is, like maybe Mrs. Malsby recommended you for E9, for English 9, with a star. That means that she could say, you might take General English 9 instead. And if you have a star beside whatever is written here and you want to choose the other one, you could cross it out and write the other one in. If there is no star, you cannot just cross it out and write the other one in. You must have an appointment with me, okay? Please, if you don't remember anything else today, remember that, because I have somebody try to do that every year, and I will not make the adjustment on this form unless I have a meeting with the parent if there's not a star. But if it says General English 9 and a star, and you're like, no, I really want to take English 9, totally fine. Strike it out and write English 9 in, and I will register you for English 9. Now, don't put your own star in there, because that's not going to work out for you, because I actually have the master spreadsheet, and you're not getting to that. So don't try to sneak that in on me, okay? So once you have assessed if you feel like you're good with what your teachers have recommended, and they're the ones that know you the best. Mrs. Malsby's watched your English all year long. Mr. Woods watched your math skills all year long. If you don't agree with them, your parents need to have a meeting with me. I would really encourage you to talk to your teacher too, okay? Does anybody have a question about math? That's probably the trickiest thing we'll talk about today. All right, so to recap that, the 5 courses I'm going to make you take: English, World G, Science, PE, and Math. Everybody's going to be in those 5 courses. But here's the good news. It's not a 5-period day. It's an 8-period day. So that means you get to pick 3 awesome courses to add into these required courses. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. I want to kind of give you a little advertisement for each one of those, okay? First of all, if you love art, Art 1 is one of the options. Miss Chrisman is the art teacher. As a freshman, the one art class you can take is Art 1. After you've taken Art 1, you'll get to take ceramics, you get to take graphic design, you can take Art 2, Art 3, Art 4. You can take multiple art classes throughout high school if art is something exciting to you. Miss Chrisman does a great job with the art kids, okay? So that's your first one. Band is the next one, okay? Some of you are in middle school band. Raise your hand if you're in middle school band. Awesome, okay? How's Mr. Stubbs? Yeah, you better say he's good. Okay, he wants you to stay in band in high school, okay? I encourage you to stay in band. If you're not really sure, at least give it a shot for freshman year to make sure you know what it is, because high school band is way different than middle school band. He's got a field show going. They've got concert band going. It's an awesome, awesome place to be. So I would encourage you to continue with band into high school, okay? Computer-aided drafting. Mr. Cremosta teaches computer-aided drafting. This is like drawing out houses or businesses or sketching out where light switches and electrical plugins will be in a brand new building, okay? If you like computerized stuff and if you like the architecture type thing, try out computer-aided drafting as a freshman. You actually can take it for all 4 years, head off to Central Community College to be a drafter, head off to the University of Nebraska-Lincoln to do architecture. Have a great career, okay? Be a great start. We've had some kids actually go from Minden. We had a young man that went from Minden to CCC in drafting, and now he's at UNL getting his architecture degree, okay? Pretty cool stuff. We have a class called Film History. That's an elective class. Mr. Malsby teaches it, okay? And film history is actually a group of movies that they come in here, bring down the big screen, and they watch movies in here, but it's not just watching movies. They will watch movies about historical events, and then they do the research and discussions to determine if Hollywood history matches real history. So it's kind of a cinematography version of history, and did they do a good job of portraying World War II? And a lot of times they're war movies or other historical events. Now, one thing you need to know about that, you will, on the first day, Mr. Mosby will send home a parental permission sheet for you to sign, your parent to sign, saying they give you permission because a few of the movies are, I think they might even have a couple R-rated ones because of some violence and some language, because they put that in movies all the time. I think there's probably violence and language in any war. Anyway, so you would have to have a parent sign this. So if your parent's not willing to let you watch the movies, you wouldn't be able to be in the class, okay? Pretty cool elective class, though. Next, guided study time. We call them GSTs here at the high school, but guided study time is a study hall. You are allowed to have one study hall a day if you would like that, okay? It can fit any period of the day because we have a teacher every period that has a GST, okay? So you could decide to give up one of your electives to have a period to study. That's up to you, and you know whether or not you need that time. Some of you love to study at home in the evening. Some of you aren't going to get home until late because you're going to be in sports or speech, or you're going to be in other activities, right? And so you might not have time to study, and you really want to have a period a day to get your homework done. So you can decide if you want a GST. Just be aware that it might be second period, it might be seventh period, it might be eighth period, because I just fit it in wherever it fits in. Questions, guys? Okay. Anyway, so guided study time is an option. Now, one thing I need to tell you is if you have an IEP, if you work with Mrs. Ten Benzel, you're going to have a study skills class instead of a guided study time. Okay, so the study skills class counts as one of your 3 electives, and you would not then get to pick a GST. You need to pick 2 other electives, okay? Only in special situations, and hardly ever. So if you have Mrs. Ten Benzel, she needs to see this green sheet before you turn it in so she can help you make good choices, okay? But you can't pick a GST if you have to pick a study skills class, okay? Intro to guitar. Mr. Stubb teaches a guitar class. And if you are interested in guitar, you've always wanted to learn how to play, this is a way to have a class period a day to do that. Now, if you're already anybody already play the guitar? Anybody a good, okay. Like you pick it up, play some songs, and yeah, you probably would be bored in guitar class because you know more than the other kids coming in, okay? You said you're a guitarist here? Awesome, okay? So basically, I recognize that that's a guitar, and I think it has some strings, and I think I hold it like this. You're the perfect person for the class, okay? It's basic beginning guitar, okay? Intro to ag. Okay, so you guys have had an ag rotation this year, right? So Miss Whipple got to make an advertisement for this already, so I don't need to say much. You know this is pretty awesome. If you have an interest in being part of our FFA and ag program, then one of your 3 electives needs to be Intro to Ag. You have to take Intro first before you can take any of the other courses. So this year's freshmen, if they wanted to be in the ag department, they're all taking Intro, and then as sophomores, they'll get to choose other ag classes. Plant, animal, agribusiness, veterinarian, there's a wildlife management. Those would be things that you get to do in the sophomore, junior, and or senior year. But for freshmen, the one class you can be in is intro. And if you want to be in FFA, you have to be in Intro to Ag for the year. Miss Whipple requires the year, okay? All right, I don't need to say much more about that. Metals, if you like to do welding, if you want to get started on that, Mr. Carlson teaches a metals class. And you can do metals all the way through high school. You're going to start out by making little keychains and such, and eventually, metals 3 and 4 kids are making their own trailers, feed bunks, all sorts of crazy stuff, okay? Power mechanics, electrical wiring. Mr. Carlson also teaches a power mechanics and electrical wiring class. It's all together as a year-long class, and you work on a small engine, like a lawnmower type engine, and learn how it works, okay? And then after you successfully complete the freshman year, power mechanics, electrical wiring, then as a sophomore, you would be eligible to take auto mechanics and actually work on cars. So if that's you, you need to get the power mechanics in as a freshman so you can take auto, and you can take it as a sophomore, junior, and a senior, and be down in the auto shop doing all sorts of really awesome things, okay? Robotics. Mr. Carlson also teaches robotics. Robotics, kind of self-explanatory, but they work with drones, they work with robots, they learn how to program, they learn how to make it all work. Pretty cool stuff, okay? So Mr. Carlson, metals, power mechanics, electrical wiring, and robotics, okay? Spanish 1. Mr. Sweeney is our high school Spanish teacher, and he teaches 4 years of Spanish. If you want to, and if you're seriously ready for it, you could take Spanish as a freshman. If you take Spanish as a freshman, I hope your goal is to get 4 years of Spanish in, okay? If you're planning to go to a 4-year college, they want you to have 2 years of foreign language done, okay? I would encourage it, if you only want those 2, I really would encourage it to be in your junior and senior year. If you want more than 2, then I would encourage you to start it sooner than that. The reason I would encourage it to be in your junior and senior year is that if you take your 2 years of Spanish and then you apply to college, sometimes you have to take a foreign language placement test because you're going to have to take a Spanish class in college. Well, if you just spent your junior year taking Spanish and then your senior year taking Spanish and you sit down to a placement test, your skills might be pretty sharp. But if you took your 2 years of Spanish as a freshman and sophomore and then didn't do anything with Spanish in your junior and senior year and then tried to take placement tests, you might be a little bit rusty. Unless you're a native speaker and you continue to speak Spanish throughout high school, that might be different. But for most of you, that would be a really challenging thing to do. So consider that. And also, I really want you to understand, Spanish 1 sounds like a really cool class. It is a college preparatory language class. You might ask Mrs. Malsby if she thinks that you're ready to take on another language, because how are your English skills? And if they're really good and you pick up really quickly and you read well, you might be the perfect candidate to take Spanish as a freshman. But if you really struggle in English, you might struggle even more in another language, okay? So Spanish 1 is more than watching Dora the Explorer and eating tacos, okay? You're gonna learn words, you're gonna learn sentences, you're going to have to speak the language, you're going to have to write it. And so please, if you plan to take it, you need to be serious about it, okay? Strength and conditioning is our next one. That's what we call it. Sounds pretty fancy, doesn't it? It's another word for weights class, okay? Mr. Hatch teaches most of our weight sections, and then Mr. Malsby picks up one because there's just not enough of Mr. Hatch to go around. And so you potentially could take a weights class next year. Now, they are very popular, and our high school is about 60 kids bigger than it was 4 years ago. And so I'm not sure what the numbers will look like next year, but we top load those classes. And that means seniors get them first, then juniors, then sophomores, and then you guys. So if anybody gets bumped out of weights, it would be freshmen if I don't have enough space, okay? I think I usually have enough space for most, if not all, the freshmen. But if you want to sign up for it, you can. If for some reason I run out of room because too many seniors, juniors, and sophomores want it, then I would go to an alternative elective for you, okay? I hope I don't have to do that. And even if you don't get the class, you would still have the opportunity to get into the weight room. It's open in the morning, it's open after school. You would still have the opportunity to lift. It's just that there are literally 24 spots in each of the sections. I think I have 5 total sections. So when I get to that, I can't put any more in there. There's not room in the room for anybody else. Okay? So, okay? All right, so that's weights. And you can take weights across high school every year if you want to. Study skills I've already talked about. That's only if you have an IEP. Textiles. Textiles is a class that Mrs. Johnson teaches. It's in our family consumer sciences room. It's actually a class that you work with fabric, and you can make whatever you want, approved by Mrs. Johnson, but typically they make quilts. Pretty amazing quilts, okay? And so I would encourage you, if you have a creative side to you and you want to learn how to put a quilt together, get into the textiles class. If you come to the vocal and band concerts here this spring, and we have the art and vocational show out here and the quilt show, you'll see the quilts that this year's kids made, and they're always amazing. Quilting is not only for girls. We have a number of boys that have taken that class and have a great time in there. So if you want to take it, don't shy away because you think, oh, I'll be with a bunch of, well, why would that be a problem to be with a bunch of girls? Sounds like a good day to me. Anyway, vocal music with Mr. Madera. I don't need to say much about that. You know Mr. Madera. You know he's awesome. He would love to have you in vocal. So if you're interested in using one of your periods of electives to be in the choir, by all means get signed up for that. You get to do a lot more things in high school choir than you got to do in middle school. And also you might have the potential to be part of show choir. I don't think they've done show choir auditions for next year yet, have they?
No, it's next.
It's when?
End of the month.
End of the month. Okay, so I would encourage you, if you're thinking about show choir, you should consider being in vocal also. It really works well to be in both, and you get connection to Mr. Madera. It doesn't get any better than that, right? And then the last one, and these are all alphabetical, the last one on my list is woods with Mr. Cremosto. If you want to learn how to build things out of wood, take a woods class, okay? We have woods 1, 2, 3, and 4. You're going to start off by making a nice little shelf, and then eventually it might be a bookcase, and then you might be making patio furniture or gun cabinets or, you know, a place to put all your designer shoes or something. That's kind of a popular thing. People have been making these little shoe boxes and stuff. So anyway, you did a rotation with Mr. Cremoso too. You know what our shop looks like. There's some awesome equipment up there. So by all means, get involved with that, okay? So woods is an option. Woods is definitely not just for boys. I say the same thing about that as textiles. There are a lot of young ladies that do some amazing projects in woods. So it's a mix, okay? So break out of those stereotypes and take the classes you love. Don't worry about it. Power mechanics, we have girls take power mechanics all the time, okay? So those are the courses that are your elective choices. You get to pick 3 of those. Now, what I'm going to do is you're going to get this page, okay, and I'm going to explain to you what's on the page. So let me pop one out of here that's a blank one so you don't see anybody's name. Okay. On the front of the page, at the top, is your name, and then underneath that is your English and math recommendation. And then there's a reminder of the other courses that everybody's going to have to take. So it literally says, all freshmen are required to take English, math, earth science, world geography, and PE. I already told you that. There's a reminder on here for you. And then it says, please include your elective choices in preference order. What does that mean? Preference order. What you want the most. You're exactly right. So your sixth course should be the elective that is most important to you. Your 7th is the next one, and your 8th is the next one. Then I know in order which ones you want. And then underneath that, I wrote alternate elective choices if an elective is not available. And then I want you to give me 2 more, okay? Because every year, there are a few people that don't get the 3 that they want. And there are a number of reasons why that could happen. Sometimes you pick 2 classes that meet the same period, and I can't get you into both of them. So you have to pick one. Well, if you put them in order, I know which one you'll pick. And then I go to the next one. And since I started doing it this way with the 2 alternates, very seldom do I have to message Mrs. Malsby to say, I can't get this kid into this, can you ask him what other elective? Usually by having 2 alternates, I can get everybody into what they've asked for, okay? So, for example, if weights fills up and you can't get into weights and that was your number, that was number 7 here, but down here you wrote metals, okay, then I'm gonna get you into metals instead of the weights class, all right? Does that make sense? So you're gonna pick 5 and you're gonna put them in order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to try to get you 1, 2, and 3. But if I can't get you one of the 3, I'm going to get you 4, or 5. And if for some reason, it's a total catastrophe, I might have to message Mrs. Mosby and say, I can't get this one to fit. Can you ask for something else? And I hope that doesn't happen. Usually doesn't happen. Okay? In addition to that you need to fill out, I have included the list of all the electives I just talked about. And then at the bottom, there's a couple pieces of information. There's a place for your parent to sign. This has to go home. I need parent permission so they know that they have looked at it and they have approved of what you have chosen. Okay? And then on the back is a little paragraph about every single one of the elective courses. So your parents can read up on, what do they do in robotics? Let me look. And it's on here, okay? So you can read up on those things, okay? So, what do you guys have for questions for me?
Don't be scared. Other people are wondering too, so just ask.
Yes?
How do we turn it into?
Excellent question. Okay, so I'm going to give you these today. I would love for you to return them to your STAR teacher. You still call STAR?
We don't have STAR anymore, so they're all going to come.
Oh my goodness, I should keep up with the times. On Monday, or on Tuesday, you're going to bring them to Mrs. Mosby. Okay? Wow, I got to catch up. Okay, everybody's going to bring them to Mrs. Mosby Tuesday. Now, here's something I really want you to understand. In order for me to give you the classes you want, I need to know what classes you want. If I don't get this sheet back from you, I won't schedule you in anything except for the 5 required courses. And then next fall, when you come to the high school, you're going to get a schedule that says, need a class, need a class, need a class. And then you're going to stop in my office and say, I want weights. And I'm going to say, it's full. You didn't turn in a sheet. You get what's left over. So what does that mean? Turn this in on Tuesday if you want your voice to be heard. Okay? Every year I have a few that don't, and I try to get them, but if you're not going to turn it in, I guarantee you I'm going to schedule you for the 5 things that you have to be in, and then we'll have to figure out the rest when you get here, and we'll take whatever's left over. Okay? So it'd be better for you to just turn the sheet in. Once you turn this in, I will actually arrange your day for you, and you will find out in the fall what period you have things. Okay, that's kind of the way it works. So, all right, Mrs. Mosby, do you have anything that I didn't cover that you think I should address with them? Or Mrs. Ten Benzel, or Mr. Wood, Mr. Lewis, is there any piece of this
Just
that...
before they give them to her, I will give them to her. They need to be read by me first. So I
Anybody
Okay.
that spends time with Mrs. Ten Benzel, yours go to her. Did you hear that?
And then Mrs. Ten Benzel is a very responsible person, and she'll make sure they get to Mrs. Mosby. Okay? Right?
Or Sherry.
Okay, thank goodness she has you guys. Okay.
I have no.
Okay, so I think the easiest thing, I don't really need to pass this out here. I'm going to give them to Mrs. Mosby. You guys can take them back to the middle school, and she can pass them out to you there for you to take home to talk with parent about stuff. Okay?
Are there any other questions, guys?
Oh, I have one other thing. Oh, Mr. Wood, go ahead. You first.
It's easier to move down in math level than it is to move up in math level.
Yeah. We have kids sometimes come in, and they're like, Mr. Wood recommended Algebra 1A, but I really want to take Algebra 1. Well, then I will have a conversation with your parent, and if you sign a form saying, yeah, we understand that the school recommended this, but I want to take this instead, we'll put you into it. But unfortunately, a number of times, I don't know, I should keep statistics, but I would say it's at least half the time, it's not successful. It's not successful, and the kid ends up failing the class, and you're in a worse spot than you would have been by just taking the class that we recommended. Every once in a while, somebody bumps up, and they were just ready, and they're like, I'm going to take this on, and they were very successful. So I'm not going to say it can't be successful. I'm saying it's more often not successful than it is successful.
Mr. Horner, can you tell them what they have to do if they fail a class in high school?
Oh, if you fail English, math, earth science, world G, or physical science, you will be, physical education, you will be taking it again. And then if you fail it again, you will take it again. And either you'll continue to take it again until you either pass or until you're 21 and you have to drop out. Required courses are required courses, and you have to pass them in order to graduate. Every single kid that walks across the stage has passed 4 years of English, 3 years of science, 3 years of social studies, 3 years of math, and a semester of speech. and the year of PE.
Which eliminates some of your fun stuff.
Oh, yeah. If you fail world geography as a freshman, in the sophomore year, instead of 3 electives, you're going to get 2 electives. If you fail both world geography and earth science, then you're going to get 1 elective, and your day is going to not be fun. So, excellent point. One other thing I want to make sure you guys know, this doesn't have anything to do with scheduling, but in the high school, we have the CATS volunteer program. Some of you may have heard of it. If you volunteer 200 hours or more across high school, and you turn those hours into me, then you get gold cords at graduation. You get honored as a distinguished service graduate, which is pretty cool. I just counted. I have 13 seniors that have done that. They're going to get gold cords at graduation. The afternoon after your 8th grade year is over, you are officially ours. You're no longer theirs. And you can start those hours then. So literally the afternoon of your last day of 8th grade, you can start accumulating those hours. There are forms available on my website, on the school website. Go to the high school, go to the counseling office. You'll see the form there. You can print them off. Or you can stop in the counseling office and I'll hand them to you. If you have an older sibling in high school, they could come pick them up for you. But you can start your CATS hours this summer. So please get out there and do some volunteer work this summer and start to collect those 200 hours. The further you get into high school, the busier you get. So it's better to get some of it done before you even get started. Let me know if you have more questions, or Mrs. Malsby, if somebody wants those CATS forms, I could send them to you.
That'd
Or
be
you could
awesome.
go to the school website,
And
go to
print
the
off
counts,
copies.
and print off a bunch of them and give them to them
And
over
we'll
there too.
send them with you before summer.
Absolutely. So, okay? Just one thing I'd like to make sure you guys know about now. All right. Any other questions? Yes? What do you have to do? What kind of things can you do? You could be in a play at the Opera House. You could be in the Christmas pageant. You could do nursery at your church every Sunday morning. You could fold bulletins to get ready for your church service. You could go rake leaves at Pioneer Village when they have rake day. There's all sorts of opportunities. You could go, well, we used to have some that went over to the nursing home and played the Wii with some of the residents, but we can't do that right now because of COVID. But in anything where you are volunteering to help somebody else that's not your own family, because you should mow grandma's yard because she's your grandma. But if your next door neighbor is an elderly person and needs somebody to mow and they don't have a lot of money, you volunteer to mow that yard, get it signed, that would count. So lots of different things. Okay? Any other questions? All right, well, let's get you back before the bell rings then,
And
huh?
we'll have them stay here because they're all
Oh,
different classes. but
there you
we'll-
go. I will hand you that.
What do you tell Mr. Horner?
You bet. You guys let me know if you have questions or funnel them through Mrs.